Hi, welcome to the bathtub. This is me, the old masturbator, Scott Bradfield, and this is the third we're doing really quickly. I'm wearing the same shirt because I'm actually filming them together. I don't wear the same shirt 3 weeks in a row. That's not me. That's not the way I am. That's not the way I ride. I change my shirt every day, whether I need it or not. But we're doing these really quickly, and I'm going to do this one particularly quickly because basically all we're recording is just the most how I've wasted my time reading books. And if you take it any more seriously than that, then good luck. Good luck to you. These are just books I really enjoyed reading, and maybe you might enjoy reading them. And if you don't, you'll find something else you probably like better. I'm reading all the way through the MAIGRET'S. We've talked about this for a few years now. I started reading the new Penguin edition. The new Penguin edition started coming out about 2013. I managed to wangle a job for the New York Times where I reviewed the first 10 or 15 of them. And I've been reading, I read several, I don't know, every month or two I read a couple of more of them. I just love the MAIGRET'S. I've enjoyed them for years, but I'm really enjoying them more than ever now. I really do feel they're books for old men. I don't know why that is, but there's something, they feel, they communicate a sense of real world and people who live in Paris. They're comforting books because Maigret manages to keep a distance from all these violent happenings around him. That's Dodo. That's the only violent happening we have in our office. And so I'm just going to talk really quickly about these two. I forget which one I read first. I think I'm up to Maigret's Pickpocket. There's only like 10 or 12 left. And these are my favorites from the 50s and the 60s. They really get better near the end. They're much more centered in Paris. The first 20 or 30 of them surprisingly don't take place in Paris very often, and I think it was partly because it was between the wars. Simenon did a lot of traveling, and he wasn't in Paris a lot, and he sort of wrote about places he was visiting all the time. So these later ones are just much more set up with Madame Maigret and his whole life and his friend the doctor who he has dinner with every Tuesday or Thursday night. The Pickpocket is the again I have read this before. I'm pretty sure. I don't think I've read Maigret and the NAHOUR case, but the setup for this one is that early in the book, Maigret's out on the streets and he gets pickpocketed by some guy who's a crook, and then the pickpocket contacts him to give him the wallet back, and he wants him to help him because someone's died. His girlfriend or his wife, I think, has died, and he wants Maigret to help him kind of clear his name, I think, basically. Anyway, the setup sound like really normal, kind of corny TV shows, but every single time, Maigret's interest in the characters and his kind of obsession with trying to find what kind of people they are. Terrific story. I really enjoyed this one, and I enjoyed the NAHOUR case too. I think they just get better and better over the years. And this is another one where I forget the setup exactly, except there's a gambler. I think he's an Arab who lives in Paris, and I think he's married to a Paris girl. I can't remember now. And they always have tawdry sexual histories, all these characters. And he's a professional gambler, and I think he's the one that gets killed. I forget already. I could literally pick both of these books up and read them again, and I probably would have forgotten almost everything about them. I would probably enjoy them just as much. And finally, I always like to do, when I do a couple of Maigret's, it used to be when I was younger, I would read the thrillers, and then I would intersperse them occasionally with a Maigret. Now, as I get older, I read the Maigret's, and I have to kind of intersperse them with the thriller, the darker, the Not-So-Durs, they call them. I have not read this one. It's called The Train. I think it's listed here as the U.S. first edition is 1966. I don't think it's much later than the French edition. I used to have the first UK hardcover edition, but I had to move this stuff around. The Train. It's not my favorite of the hard novels or the serious novels, but it's every one of his books I just kind of... They're one of the few writers I can think of. Almost every writer you read, there's always kind of parts where, I kind of know what they're going to do here, or you find little boring passages. There's almost no fatty bits in a Simenon novel. Almost every scene is interesting. And he has almost the same plot. The plot of every single book is usually a man, middle-class man, usually has a family. Sometimes he's retired with a wife he's lived with for years, or in this case, he's a young husband with a wife who he loves, and he has a daughter, and the wife is pregnant. And and Germany starts invading Poland, Belgium, and France, and they have to get on a train to leave town. And it's about him trying to get his family on this kind of cattle car. They're just basically shoving all these people on the trains and trying to get away as far away as they can from the military actions. And that's the setup. The setup is you have a normal, cozy life, and you're thrown out of it. And always, when you're thrown out of it, some sort of sexual desire comes an opening to some opportunity. And in this case, he sees this woman who he just finds really attractive. He gets separated from his wife. He sees this woman on the train. And everyone on the train is kind of behaving a little animalistically. They think they're all going to die, and they're all having sex all over the train. And he has this kind of affair with this woman who he just meets on the train, he doesn't even really know why, but she's just gotten out of prison. And we don't really understand what kind of person she is until later in the book. It's about 5 or 6 days in their life where they become brought together, and he's outside of his world, and he's in a world. It's always a sort of naturalistic world where you're kind of getting this physical satisfaction from sex, from food, and from sleep, and they kind of away from all of the normal daily grind of being a civilized human being. It's the same story over and over again, and he always manages to set it up. This is a little less. It's a little less of a thriller than some of his books, in the sense that there's not kind of a danger element or a crime element involved. But it's a good little novel, and I quite enjoyed it. It's worth picking up if you see it somewhere. Definitely get any Simenon that you see, especially in these beautiful cool old editions. Okay. Anyway, we got that. We had to keep up with this. I think we're gonna actually finish the Maigret series in the next maybe month or two. I kind of maybe just go on a Maigret jam session. Stay safe. Stay in the bathtub. Don't leave the bathtub until I tell you it's safe. Okay? Take care.